All right, so this is going to be how I take this building apart right here. Now that once we got it opened in 3ds Max. So select the building and switch to the Modify tab. Guys, remember the Modify tab? And with the building selected, you're going to see that it's an editable poly. It's an editable poly. Go after the easy stuff first. In fact, for you two guys, I'm not going to worry about, well, actually, I better show you how to do polygons, so I will worry about it a little bit. But select elements. In the element category, there are a whole lot of things you can strip off that building that are elements, okay? So like this antenna right here. If I select that antenna is an element. Did you got that antenna selected? Yeah. All right. And then on these little menus here on the side, in particular, the one called Edit Geometry, that's where that Detach button is. And so I'm going to click the Detach button, and I will name this Antenna. And now over here in this hierarchy view right over here, you'll see you now have something called antenna, don't you? Antenna. It's an antenna. That's what that is. You with me there, Andrew? Now, over in this little menu, we've already detached that antenna. So it won't be distracting. You can click that little eye right there, and you see what happens to the antenna? Clicking that little, now you click the building, and the whole thing disappears, you know? That's not, that don't make the building disappear. But I just made the antenna because I've detached it. I can't select it anymore. I mean, I'm clicking right through it. So I want to hide it so I don't get distracted by it. Now I'm going to click on the radar dish. See the radar dish? And I'm going to detach that. And I'll call it radar dish. You with me so far? This is the easy part. Radar dish. And then I'll hide, yeah, as you detach objects, hide them to get them out of the way. Now I'm going to grab these two objects right here. Be careful. You don't want to, like, if you grab more than you're bargaining for, you're going to get, the whole building. So I just want to grab those two objects. That part of the radar dish is called the probe. Probe. That's the probe. So I'm going to detach that, and I'll call that probe. Probe. And I'll hide the probe. Tilt that up a little bit, and I'm going to grab those two pieces. Those are the two pieces that were the stand for the radar dish. I'm going to detach those, and I'll call them stand. And I'll hide it. Now, earlier, Alexis was asking about how do I detach the doors? So you're not going to get everything with elements, guys, because if I try to select the door as an element, you get the whole building, don't you? So that's not going to work to get the door. So I'm going to change from elements to polygons. Now be careful about polygons. You might go, okay, I'm going to select these two polygons, and you're like, there, I got my two doors. But what you don't realize is you also got that stuff too, So let me deselect that again. You'd be looking at that going, okay, I got my two doors, right? But you got more than what you bargained for. So I recommend when you're like selecting your doors, click on one, select that one, hold your control key and select the other one. The door is two polygons. Over here in this little menu right here, if I open up the selection set, I should see right here I've got two polygons selected. So those two polygons, if you have three, you got something selected you don't want to have selected. Deselect and start over, Ed. So like click out in open space, and then click on one, hold your control key, click the other. That way you make sure you only got two polygons, and then click the detach button and call this one rear door. and hide it. Got the rear door hidden? All right. I also want to make the handle a separate object. So I'm going to switch back to element. Switching back to element now, I can click on and I can select that handle and I can detach it and call it rear door handle. Now I've got the rear door handle and I can hide that. Now, there's a problem with the steps. And if you could arrange your view so you could just see this very top step right here and switch to polygons. So switch to polygons and be able to see this very top step. Can you see that very top step? I'm going to just select those polygons that are the top step. These polygons are actually part of this whole side structure. And you should have like 6 polygons selected. Secretly, there's another polygon on the inside of this thing right here. It's kind of a mess, but it's hidden inside the model, and when they made it, they left that little mess sitting in there. I've become aware of it. But you got that top step selected, those polygons, detach them, and this time, just check the box detach to element. So check the box detach to element. That means it's still going to be part of building 01. It's still part of that object. All right. Now, that's the last time I'll do that. Going forward, I'll switch back to elements here now. And that top step is still selected, isn't it? That's okay. You can, if you're back on elements, you can select it now, can't you? Hold your control key and you can select all the rest of the steps. If you accidentally select something you didn't want, like let's say I accidentally selected the building, how do you deselect an object? What key do you hold down to deselect? What key do you hold down to unselect? Alt. If you hold the Alt key down and you click, that will unselect, deselect the object. That way I just got the steps selected right there. So I got the steps there, Ed? See the steps there, Andrew? And then I'm going to detach those as, but not as an element. I want to detach it as an object, and I'm going to call it steps. Now, I've showed you the ins and outs and the basics of tearing off various parts. Also, how to select specific polygons that you want to get if you need to get specific polygons, because they're part of a larger object that you just can't break apart by element. In the element category, there are a lot of elements. You know, the building, the handle here, this rail right there is an element. These posts back here, elements. The rocks are elements. I need you to break everything apart. Now, the rocks can be broken apart in groups. Break all of the rocks in the front off as front rocks. Break all the rocks in the back off as back rocks. You get the idea? And that's about all there is to this. Any questions, guys? Ready to roll? All right, I'm going to stop the recording.